everyone. This is me, Fabha Businesswadi, and you are watching the Pallete podcast. And as you all know, that in every podcast we have new guests with us in the studio. And today I'm honored to welcome a visionary change maker whose mission-driven work in sustainability, innovation, and global work in and global partnerships in creating real, lasting social impact across the world. Please welcome Ms. Shannon. Thank you so much for joining me in this podcast. Hi, how are you doing?
I'm good. I'm good. And I'm really glad to be here on the Palette podcast. So exciting.
Thank you so much. So, firstly, I will love to request you for your introduction for me and also for my viewers so that we can know you better.
Okay. So, being that this is a business minded podcast, I'll give you a little background about my business background. So, I have worked in international development for 30 years. I started working in Africa and I lived in Kenya for 5 years. And then I worked throughout the entire continent of Africa. And then I moved to the United States and I worked there, doing jobs like becoming a firefighter and working for the fire department's environmental unit. And then I moved to Europe and I lived in Sweden for 12 years. And there I worked for a nonprofit organization that taught the world about sustainability, how to do business better so that you are better for people, the planet, and for the prosperity of both the company and the people working in the company. And then last year, I moved back to the United States, and I now currently live in sunny California. And I am here doing a number of jobs. I'm an entrepreneur. I have a course called Sustainability for Change Makers that is an online course teaching the basics of sustainability. And I am a fundraiser, so I help early stage companies raise money so that they can get out of the early stage company stage, the seed stage, and go to scale and catalyze more investment. And then I am a philanthropy advisor. I help wealthy people figure out what is the most impactful way that they can spend their philanthropy. So all of those things are somewhat related, and it's a lot of work and it's a lot of passion to get behind it, but it's also really fun. And my goal with my business and with my energy is to make a positive impact on the planet, make the world a better place. And how that looks is something I'm figuring out every day, and it changes um, from each person I meet. But at the core, that is my business. My business, I'm in the let's make a positive change business. And then how I get paid for that looks differently depending on the day. So that's me.
Okay, that's really amazing. It's great to see that you doing a lot of work. Like you're such a multitasker, I will say. And it's really great to hear that you have lived in like most of the part of the world, like in the Britain and also in the United States and Africa. So of course you might have a lot of like experiences there and different cultures you might have experienced. So that's really amazing. So, my first question to you is that what inspired you to choose a career focused on creating social impact?
Uh, well, my like growing up, my mom was a nurse, and so she was a person who cared a lot about people. And then my dad was a traveling salesman, and so he did sales, and he really loved working with people. He was always doing a little bit extra for his customers, and that's what made him a great salesperson, is because people always knew, oh, like that guy, he's always going to do that extra thing. And my mom was always so kind and caring. She really wanted people to have a good experience when they were having a hard time, because if you're at the hospital, it's not your best day. And so I grew up with that kind of always in the background. You treat people really well, uh, and you care for them. And but when I was growing up, I had got the opportunity to travel when I was just out of high school. I was 18 and I got to be on a bicycling team that went to China. And that was like my first time out of the United States. And like my whole worldview just was like blown wide open, because all of a sudden I realized like, oh, that there's a whole world beyond all of my friends and family that I've known my whole life. And that continued as I went to college. Then I got a scholarship to study a semester abroad. Then when I graduated from college, I traveled and went around and saw all these. I went and like traveled for a whole year and saw a whole bunch of different countries in a whole bunch of different contexts. And what I saw was there was a lot of poverty and a lot of hardship. I did not realize how good I had it growing up, just kind of lower middle class in California. And when I did that, I thought, you know what? I care about people. I want people to have a good life. I want to do a little extra. And so it was a natural development of having an empathetic and compassionate heart. Like I want everyone to have the opportunities that I've had. I not only do I want my own success, but I want others people's success as well, because it's more fun the more that we're doing. I don't like seeing poverty. I don't like when I hear that people are having a real hard time and struggling. Um, so, okay, then do something about it. So for me, it was like, well, I'm going to work in an area that helps people. I can't solve all the problems. I can barely solve my own problems, but I can at least try. And so that's what guided me towards a career in impact, because I thought it would be one, both meaningful work, a meaningful way to spend my time, but also a fun thing to do. How great is it to like make things better? Like, like I don't care about getting somebody one more lipstick or one more car part. I don't care about that. But I do care if tomorrow your life is a little bit better because we did something. Okay, that's that's fun.
Okay, that's great. I wish more people have mindset like you.
Me
That can
too.
actually change the world. So, my next question to you is that growing up, what was your favorite profession or the profession that you wanted to pursue? Because I really like to listen from my guests that how their perspectives change throughout the years.
Oh. Well, when I was really young, I was an inventor. I came up with a new invention pretty much every every week. And would I would so one of my inventions was, and I was, you know, 10 years old and I didn't know how to drive, but I was always walking really long distances to go to my friend's house or to the store or whatever. And so I invented the perfect car. And that car was a car that you could drive on the sidewalk for young people like me, because I was only like 10. And it would have like a soda machine in it. It would be self-driving. It would have alerts in case there was like a dog that ran up to the car. And I spent weeks just dreaming up what would be in this perfect car, and what would it look like and what would it feel like. And but I made inventions all the time, and I still do that. And so I think in my heart I was an inventor and an entrepreneur. And both of those things, other than my just launching my online sustainability course, I've never been a, an inventor or an entrepreneur. I've always worked for other people. And so now I'm 54 and I'm finally coming into my childhood dream of becoming an entrepreneur. And it's really exciting. And I still have all these ideas, all these inventions that I'm like, okay, I'm going to learn a few things, and then I'm going to get some help from people who can help me build this business. And I'm going to be that entrepreneur, and I'm going to start putting my inventions out there. So I'm excited to talk to you. I know you're based in Pakistan, and Pakistan is filled with entrepreneurs. And so I'm like, okay, let's connect somehow so that you can help me get my invention from my head out into the world, and then I can give you access to the US market that's, the biggest market in the world. So yeah, and I yeah, so anyway, that was my childhood dream, and I'm just starting it. At 54, I'm still just starting my dream.
No, actually, it's pretty cool. I always used to wonder that what goes on into someone's mind when they invent something. Now I get to know, like a 10-year-old can actually invent something really cool. So,
Yeah.
my next question to you is that how do you define real change in the context of social impact?
Um, so there's different levels of change. So the type of change in social impact is, obviously we want to have huge systemic change because that's where big change happens. Um, but all change starts with just us. Change doesn't happen without people, because people make decisions and then those decisions have consequences. So when I'm looking at a project and seeing what is its social impact, I'm thinking, the micro level, how is it helping this person? How is this helping this community? And then how is it helping this business build a bigger client base or have a bigger brand loyalty? And then I'm thinking about the bigger picture, which is, does this have an impact on the larger system? So, for instance, when it comes to sustainability, like, we all can make small changes in our personal life that are more sustainable. We can eat better. We can get more exercise. We can um, purchase things from businesses that have better practices. Um, but then when we look at the bigger thing, we say, okay, is my recycling my one cup that big of a deal? No, that's not making systemic change. But when we talk to a big manufacturer and say, you have too much packaging. You have too much packaging and it's not recyclable. Can you make this out of paper? Can you make it so that it is recycling? Can you reduce the amount of plastic that you're using? When a big company does that, then they are creating a role model for how other companies should do it. And when they get customer focus because they're the best packager, then that changes everybody else's perspective, because all of a sudden there's competition and all the companies need to do better. And then it continues to go further. So we want big systemic change, and that comes from governments and from big corporations, and they're the biggest polluters, or they're the biggest influence. Big business and government, they can make change happen with a decree or with just changing a practice. So we want to focus on the big things to make big systemic change. But on a more practical level, we need to influence ourselves and our local business. So, for instance, if you work for a company and um, they have a lot of waste, and, say you work in a restaurant and you're throwing half the food away every night at the end of the shift, you can talk to your boss and say, we are wasting so much food. This is a waste of money. This is a waste of food. This is a waste of resources. Like, each one of these meals that we're throwing away, you know, had, farmers and produce and transportation and all these things. How can we reduce so that we're not wasting so much food every day? And start having that conversation. And when you have that conversation, then you start the beginnings of change. So, I don't know if I answered your actual question, was like, how do you measure impact? Um, and I measure it by seeing the outcomes. Like, I want to um, reduce the amount of waste in my household. Okay, first thing I have to do is I have to take a baseline. How much am I actually wasting? And I look at, like, okay, did I buy too many clothes? Did I buy too much food? And once I realize how much I'm wasting, then I can start taking action to reduce that waste. And then I would be like, okay, in July, I had this much stuff and I spent this much this many, yeah, this much money. But in August, I'm keeping track of it. And am I getting better? Yeah, I'm getting better. And then you just measure it slowly but surely. But the first thing you have to do is notice. So, number one, notice what you're doing. Two, get a baseline measurement. And then three, do better. This, like, one easy thing to do and that saves you money and it's very noticeable is energy. Like, am I turning off the lights when I'm doing? Am I, um, using my? Am I constantly leaving everything charged into the wall? Am I? Yeah. Am I leaving things on when I don't need to be leaving them on? Turn them off and see how much money you save. Okay, when you save money, that's kind of fun, and when you know that you're reducing, and then tell your school, do we need to have these lights on? The sun is shining and there's plenty of light in here. Why don't we go outside? Not to be cheapskates. You don't want to be a cheapskate when it comes to, like, being a modern society, but you can do better, and just being aware of it makes you more conscientious.
Okay, that's really thoughtful of you. My next question to you is that what qualities do you look for in an ideal partner or organization to collaborate with?
Hmm. Um, the number one thing that I look for is trustworthiness. Like, can I trust you as a partner? Are you responsible? Do you do what you say you're going to do? If I can't trust you, I can't do business with you. And I don't want to do business with you. So number one is trust. Are you who you say you are? Do you do the things you say you're going to do? So that's number one. Number two, I look for partners that will help me build my business in a way where I am not strong. Like, I have certain strengths, but if I'm going to partner with you, I want to make sure that you don't have my exact same strengths. I want you to help build that foundation so that my business is solid, because your strengths make up for my weaknesses. And then maybe my strengths get stronger because I have a firm foundation to stand on. So when I'm looking for a partner, I'm looking for the gaps in my skill set. Like, for instance, I'm not a great accountant. I just That's not something that I find fun to do, and so I'm going to look for a partner who's a walking spreadsheet, who says, I love numbers. I love to keep track of things in detail. I'm the detail person. I'm like, great. I'm not the detail person. I'm the vision person. I want to go big, um, because that person's going to help me be very practical when they're like, Shannon, you need to make this money. You need to pay these bills. You need to pay your taxes. And this is what we need to do. And this is your runway that you need to do it by. And I'm like, great. Thank you for keeping me on track. So I'm going to now I know, and I can live within those means. Meanwhile, you keep keeping track on it, because I'm going to keep going doing what I want to do.
Okay, that's great. And I totally agree that we have to fill the gaps in our life, because if you're already good into something, you don't need a person to help you with that, of course. So
Yeah.
that's really amazing. So, can you share a success story that emerged from a global partnership?
Um, Let me think about that. A success from a global partnership. Um, yeah, I can talk about a partnership that I made with a company in Kenya. So I was living in Sweden, and I was working for a nonprofit organization there, and we didn't have we wanted to teach sustain it. We wanted to create these partnerships between Sweden and and different politicians in Africa. And we didn't really know how to do that. So my job was to go out and talk to these politicians in Kenya, specifically the governors of Kenya. And there's 47 governors in Kenya. And so what I did was I had a meeting or attended a meeting with all the 47 governors and said, we would like to do a partnership between Sweden and Kenya on sustainability. And we're going to partner up like one of the governors with a politician in Sweden, like the equal politician in Sweden. And we want you to work on a project that is how you can make your city more, or your region more sustainable. And what we did was we just kind of randomly put these people together, and they were so different. I have a, a, a politician who's in charge of a community that's at the very top of north of Sweden that's covered in snow and it's freezing cold, partnered with someone on the coast of Kenya where it's hot and it's on the coast and there's water and there's lots of trade. And we were like, okay, how are these people going to work together on a sustainability project? And they connected as individuals, as professionals who are politicians, and they slowly built these little projects, not big projects. They weren't going to redo their entire area, but they made a personal connection that oh, I want to come to Sweden someday and see snow. I've never seen snow. And them saying, I want to come to the coast of Kenya. I would love to see the blue waters of the Indian Ocean. And through that kind of personal connection, they started working on sustainability projects. And specifically, they were working on waste. Now, Sweden is really good at waste, and Kenya is really bad at waste. And so what was successful is they got together and they started talking about, garbage collection. Well, Sweden is very good about collecting garbage and then sorting it according to the different recycling, but they waste a lot. Swedish people waste a lot of garbage. Whereas when the Kenyans were looking at it, they were terrible at like picking up the garbage and then sorting it, but they were very, very good about using everything to the maximum capacity. For instance, if you had old tires and you threw them out in Sweden, you just threw them to the recycling center. In Kenya, they were going to reuse that tire. They were going to use it as a barrier to create a wall for their garden. They were going to use it to create a toy for their kids, or use it to make flip-flops for their shoes. And so as they talked about it, they talked about, okay, how can Sweden be better at wasting less and reusing what we have? And the Kenyans were learning, how can we like throw out less garbage? Like, we need to pick up our streets and make sure that our streets are clean, and we need to do that in an efficient way so that it reduces disease, it reduces pests, and it's prettier for the community. And so by talking about garbage, just as kind of friends who were curious about one another, they were both, or the communities were able to improve their waste management for the entire region just through this little partnership. Um, and you think, okay, if we can do that for a politician with just a couple of people, what else could we do if we were to partner up and try to solve a problem together? Like, I think we could do a lot. It's just that more people need to do it, and more people need to think, what can we do to make things better together? And then take inspiration, because we all are doing what we know how to do. What we're not doing is what we don't know what to do. And sometimes you need other people to point out what you don't know. You don't know what you don't know until you meet somebody who's like, well, let me tell you what I know. I'm going to share it. And then all of a sudden you're smarter and you can make better decisions.
Yes, I totally agree with you, and thank you so much for this insightful conversation. So, lastly, my last question to you is that what legacy do you hope to leave behind the field of social impact?
Hmm. I I would like to leave a legacy um, of being someone who made a positive difference, and I would like to leave a legacy of being in that I was able to inspire others to do the good that they were meant to do. I think that that would be a really beautiful legacy to leave. What I care about isn't necessarily what you care about, but if I can inspire you to do what you are great at, that's amazing. And let's do that for a social good.
Okay, I wish you best of your luck for that, and you're doing such an amazing job. And as I said earlier, in this world, in this century, it's really hard to find people like you because like most people are there to like waste products. They are always like they don't really care about the goods that they have. So it's really amazing to meet someone who actually understand the importance of it. And also you're here in Pakistan. Like, of course, there are both kind of people. There are some people who do care about them, but mostly people don't care about them. So it's really important to raise the awareness. And I hope that maybe in future you start this work. You start this organization in Pakistan as well, and we will like and I would love to collaborate with you if that happens. So
Absolutely.
okay, so thank you so much once again for this amazing conversation. I really, really learned a lot from you, and I hope so my questions didn't make you bored and you enjoyed it too. So, okay, everyone, this was for the interview for the podcast. I hope you all enjoyed it as much as I did. So, I'll see you in my another podcast with a new guest. Till then, Allah Hafiz and goodbye.
All right. Thank you so much.